Hey, everybody, this is Nick Neacsu at Real Talks, and before the next episode starts, just want to give an answer to a lot of people who are asking me, what software do I use uh, to create my podcast? And the platform that I use is Anchor.fm. It's absolutely free. It has a huge reach, so it'll actually reach out to Apple, it'll reach out to Google, and it'll reach out to Spotify and other platforms. So those platforms pick up your podcast, so you have maximum exposure to anybody who is interested in listening to your podcast. As well, if you're absolutely lucky, there will be companies that will reach out to you and might want to sponsor your podcast. You might get paid for something that you love to do. So if you are interested in starting your own podcast, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And here we go to the next episode, and thank you for your time. Welcome to Real Talks, the Realtor Life. This is where we talk to real agents about their story and their journey in real estate. We'll discuss their beginnings, their struggles, and their ultimate successes. We peel back the layers and deliver a behind-the-scenes conversation that you, the listener, can find inspiration. My name is Nick Neacsu, and my intention is to share the authentic realtor life. Hey everybody, this is Nick Neacsu with Real Talks. We're in episode 14, and I'm here with top producing agent in Victoria, British Columbia, Eli Mavrikos. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks for having me.
So Eli, I know a little bit about your business, but not a whole lot about your business, right? You've been in the business for how many years now?
About 11. I think I'm just coming on my 12th year. I think this year will start, the end of this year starts my 12th year.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. And what type of market do you focus on?
I think the majority of my market it's like semi-luxury. It's like probably about between 1 to low 2 millions, kind of like 1 million to 2 million range.
Okay, and your target amount of deals per year ranges from?
I would like to be minimum 80 to 100 plus. That's kind of the goal.
That's a lot of deals with that average price. And how many people on your team?
Well, it's kind of funny. Like, we don't have a team in this normal sense of the word. Like, it's the collective. It's our branding, right? It's what it is. It's me, my wife. She got her license about 6 years ago because it was always me by myself for a while.
Right.
She's a chartered accountant by trade, though, like smartest lady I know. So she got her just to help supplement me back in the day. But about 5 years ago, I've got my sister, who's my full-time licensed assistant. So she's realtor, building her business underneath my umbrella, and then my cousin. So there's 4 technically.
Okay.
But we're not really a team, as in my cousin. She's with the new rules, of course.
Yeah.
Works underneath the umbrella, but not one of us.
Not one of you guys. Yeah. Okay,
but
so there's a little bit of separation. Yeah. Good. So your own broker, almost like your own brokerage.
Pretty much, and that's kind of the way I've tried to build it, which is nice.
That's good, and it works out really well with this climate, right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's great. So you said this is your 12th year in business.
You'll be starting.
Yeah, and you sold a lot of real estate. I mean, it's just one of those things where you sort of wake up and you're like, holy, I've sold a lot of real estate over the career, but not really with that mindset. Yeah. Just work hard and
exactly. You don't really even think about it. Also,
right.
You're like, oh my god,
what have I done?
Yeah. When you actually think of it and look at the numbers, you're like, oh man, that's actually
So why'd you become a realtor? What made you get into this business?
Honestly, I think I have a different story than most. Like
Perfect.
Most of the other agents on here. So I was 24 and I just got on the fire department. Like I was A-type personality. My wife was working full time. We had no kids at the time, and I felt like I was just so much time off. I was just bored. I was literally bored out of my mind. I didn't really know what to do. My wife's like, well, why didn't you? And she's like, well, why don't you start doing something, do something different? Why don't you get into real estate? I was like, no, not a chance. Like real estate, I don't know anything about it. I don't, you've got the stigma with realtors that people don't really know about. I was like, that's right. Not me. I'm not the salesman guy. That's not what I do. I was like, I'm going to go into personal training because I had a football background and I was training some people I know's kids, trying to get them in power. And I was like, I'm going to do that. Like, that's more what I know.
Okay.
But I thought about it for a bit, and so I just kind of, I was like, okay, let's do it. She pushed me a bit, so I just kind of stumbled into it. To be honest with you, it was more of just like out of the blue. Never had a dream of it, nothing like that.
So you went and just got your license because you're almost pressured into it?
No, I was kind of pressured to do something with myself and keep, because I get super bored. I can't sit at home for more than like a day or two without like I got to do something. So it was more, I felt like I was not empty. I needed more in my life. I needed something.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then, so there you go. So you started real estate. Then what'd you do? Because you didn't really have that motivation and drive to be like the top realtor in the world.
No.
No?
And that was the thing. And honest to God, like the first year, it's crazy. It was terrible, but I fought it. I fought it so hard, like mentally. Like it was a thing inside of me that I didn't want it. It was weird to say. Like I wasn't all in. I was not all in at all. I did a couple deals with some family members, like
Right.
But it was just one of those where I wasn't there. It took me about a year and a half to get there.
Were you kind of self-sabotaging the whole process?
100%. That's a perfect way to say it. I was self-sabotaging. I didn't, you know what? I got my license within 3 months. And then I was like, oh, my honeymoon's coming up. And then, I picked a brokerage. And then about 4 months later, I was like, okay, maybe I should actually go start doing something. By that point, I was like, 4 months in and I haven't done a thing, right? So
right.
it was kind of, like you said, I don't know why. It was a weird thing.
So you're stubborn.
Very, yeah.
Yeah, you're stubborn, yeah. And it's probably why you're successful.
Yeah,
because they've reversed it around into rather than being self-sabotaging. You're like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be stubborn and actually make this thing work.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So you started off working under somebody or working for somebody, or just what'd you do?
Honestly, I worked by myself. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know what to do. You get your managing broker you could bounce things off of, but I didn't know. Like I knew a couple agents, but I didn't have anybody. I didn't talk. I didn't hang out with anybody. I'm very big on education, so once I started slowly getting into it, I just started learning, just educating myself. So when I had some time, I would read. I would look at the contract that we had from when we bought our house. Right? I would just study things like how do agents do this? What do you do? Right? And I would just do the little courses that the brokerage would put out, that kind of thing.
So you're hyper analytical.
Big time.
Yeah.
I'm very
type B.
I don't know.
Were you more introverted when you started than you are now?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
So type B that opened up his shell.
Yeah.
I relate. Same to me. So you are. Let me guess. I'm just going to step forward quickly. It's just like a guess. You sell information.
Yes.
There,
100%. Yeah. It's all about educating and informing my clients for them to make the best decision. That's
perfect.
My mindset.
Informational-based sales tactics.
Yeah.
By Eli Mavrikos. It's a great thing. I love it. I love it. So we'll backtrack again to where you started. So you are now sort of this learning machine, and you've done your sphere, your friends and family, your sphere.
Yeah.
Then what stepped you out of that circle? Like what happened? What was one of the contributors to growing your business? Because my mentor. Yeah. Malcolm Hasman. Right. He said on my podcast, he goes, there's two types of business. There's real business and fake business. Fake business is family and friends. Real business is having somebody choose you over somebody else and you don't even know them.
Yeah, exactly. So what I found, so it took me about a year and a half, and this was and once I started committing, I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be as professional and as educated as a agent I can. Like I'm new, so to cover up for me being new, maybe people not having confidence in me, I was like, I'm going to know what I'm talking about. So at open houses, or if somebody would, call in, you're doing floor duty or whatever, all those kind of things, and you start getting out there with your buyers, right? Listings don't come right away. It's with the buyers. You come to those showings as prepared as possible. Because I remember when we first started looking, we found our first agent. It ended up not being our first agent, but found him in the mall, right? We didn't know what we were doing.
Like kiosk.
Yeah, I was like 23 years old, walked in, found this guy, but we walked to our first showing, met him at our first showing. He was 15 minutes late. Asked him a few questions. He didn't know a thing about anything about that. Didn't know the bedroom, square footage. So when I left, I was like, I told him, I don't know anything about real estate, but he didn't know what question I had for him. So I took that. I take something from everything. So I took that, and I was like, I'm going to go show these people, whatever, it's 4 condos. I'm going to know every sale in that building for the last 6 months, square footage differences, why, exposure differences, why that sold for, and then I'd come and I'd bring it to them, and then they would be, and then I just found through that, they found that even though, okay, this guy's new, he's young, he knows what he's talking about, and then they have more trust in him. Right.
Wow. That's great. So you take a lot of knowledge from lessons you've learned from other experiences, right? Yeah. And you compound that with learning, figuring out your own style of selling,
right? Yeah.
And which is a knowledge-based sales approach.
Yeah.
And that's how you really, that's where you found your zone.
in real estate sales.
Yeah, for sure. That mixed with relationship building. And I know it's kind of cliche, but it's true. I feel that my whole business, anytime I meet a buyer or seller, whatever it is, the first thing I say is the reason why I feel where we're at is I build relationships with clients. So it's realtor for life, not realtor for the deal.
Right.
And that mixed with education, they know that I'm looking out for them in the end. And I will say, I've told clients, we've walked from deals because I was like, you know what, I don't think this is going to work for you. This doesn't fit your plan.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this isn't going to work. We'll find you something else. And I've actually picked up clients because they say, we appreciate what you said to your client when you were buying our house, for example, or they just appreciate that honesty because they know. So that's kind of the way I work it. Like, you think of the big picture. Don't think of the now.
Yeah.
Think of the long term. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, and you come from a good family.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a successful family.
Yeah.
And it's hard to I look at real estate realtors. It's very few people that come from successful families that are very successful themselves in real estate because they can't find that drive.
That's right.
Right. So where does your motivation come from?
That's a good question. That's great because you hit on something for me. So my whole life, like my dad and my uncles, they started a family business, a restaurant, and that. So growing up, though, and I kind of mix this with being like, I was also a fat kid when I was growing up. Right?
Okay, yeah.
So, but I use these as fuel. So my mindset as I was growing up was, especially when I started getting to acknowledge things going on around me, I was like, you know what? The restaurant is not going to be a fallback for me. I'm going to do this on my own. I need to not prove a point, like getting back at somebody, but just prove that I can do this on my own. I don't need, if push came to shove, I don't need my family's support or financial backing in order to create a living for myself and support my wife and support my family. So for me, my drive was, I got to do this on my own. If I don't do this, I'm a failure. Like, I did not want to, I just wanted to do it on my own.
No sense of self-accomplishment.
Yeah. And what that goes with, like, the backing comment was, I didn't want to go like, oh, my buddies were on teams. I didn't want to be the chubby kid. Like in a movie or something, they would joke about it. I was like, no, I'm going to be a chubby kid, but I'm going to prove that I can still make this team.
Right.
So I'm very, very competitive and a big internal drive when it comes to things like that. So that was my push.
So you compete against yourself a lot, right? Yeah, you push yourself.
Exactly.
So your inner motivation is self-created.
100%.
So you're just proving to yourself, not showing anybody else, but proving to yourself you can do it.
True. I don't exactly. I'm very build my own confidence, but not a cockiness. My whole lifestyle through sport was like, build your own self-confidence and that will shine through, but don't be cocky. Don't ever be cocky. Just do it quietly behind the scenes and it'll pay off in the end.
So showing a sense of humility while you're being successful. That's how it should be. It's an authentic way of approaching any business, really.
Yeah, true.
So have you had any low points in the business? Or has it been?
I wouldn't say, fortunately, it wasn't really a low point. It's more a turning point, I guess, for me was, like I said, competitive guy. But a year and a half in, and I'm just kind of kicking the tires a bit, right? And I'm starting to go to these little functions. Because what do you do as a realtor? You go to the functions, you schmooze, you drink, But I go in there and I didn't, people and meeting people I haven't seen for a while, they're like, oh, you're a realtor? It was more like I almost felt embarrassed because, I wasn't a realtor yet. I was, you sell real estate? I didn't know you're a realtor. And I didn't like that. Like, it was almost like I was disrespecting business, but I was also kind of felt disrespected, but that was because I was doing it to myself. So it was kind of like, you know what? I'm going to go all in. I'm done of just being on the periphery here. I'm going to dive in and I'm going to turn myself into a 100% professional realtor and like do this my way. Like, cause I was so skeptical about that, cheesy realtor salesman kind of like, I didn't want to be, I didn't want to be that guy that, here comes the realtor again. Let's stop talking. I didn't want to go in. I didn't want to ruin who I was. I didn't want to ruin my relationships.
Right.
I didn't want to be that guy that, Eli, the realtor's here. Like, let's just go. I don't want to talk, So I was going to do it my way. So that was kind of the turning point. It's about a year and a half in. I was going to these things and nobody really knew what I was doing. I was like, this is embarrassing. Why am I doing this? Like, I got to either stop or just go all in. And it was just go all in, but in my own way, which was good. Right?
So you were kind of in your mind, because you weren't all in, you're sort of, cheating yourself. You're almost you're faking it.
Yeah,
You're you're playing pretend rather than you actually make it into a real business.
Exactly.
I see that a lot in this, and it's something, it's very normal to do that when you start. I see a lot in this business for any new realtors, listening. There's a point when you have to just go all in and take the plunge rather than do it as a part-time job, because you're going to get part-time results.
Exactly.
Right?
100%.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah. And so what motivates you every day now? So you're 12 years in, you're doing, you're doing that 80 to 100 ends a year. That's a marathon of deals, right? That's a deal, every 3.5 days.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what motivates you to keep on doing it? And it can't just be the money, because money's not the motivator in this business.
No, exactly. And you know what's funny? Like, obviously we work because we need to get paid and support ourselves, but it's not the money. It's almost like the accomplishment feeling. Like I said, I'm very competitive. It's like one of those things that I'm doing this because I've been doing it. I got to keep doing it. And I see people that I have friendly competitions with doing it. I'm like, no, I'm going to keep up. I'm not going to get complacent and sit back. If you set yourself to a certain standard, I got to keep my standard there, because it's also cheating my clients, my business. If they see all of a sudden, well, I'm not doing the best for them, why not? Just because, whatever, I've made this much this year, whatever. No. You got to keep up. You got to keep supporting that. That mixed with this changed big for me about 9 years. My kids. I've got 3 kids under 9. The minute my daughter was born, my first, I swear the business, the kids just created success. Like, so between being competitive, for my own, but just so I know that I'll always be able to support them. So that's my biggest thing. And you know what? My number 1 is being a dad. Should be number 2 is a husband. And I joke with my wife, I know I got to be more husbandy as well as much as a daddy, and then business.
She's more wife more mother than wife.
It
works both ways. It works both ways. Yeah,
we've been together 17 years, but I got to make sure keep working at it, right?
Yeah.
So, and then business. So being competitive and being a family man are my biggest driving factors still, and that's what gets me going every day.
That's great. Wow, that's fantastic. And so then as you grow your business, you're going to hit these plateaus, right? And you're going to adjust and then grow. 12 years in, and you're still. What stops you from plateauing forever? Because this is the time. This is usually when you would start plateauing your bell curve.
Exactly. You know what? I think what I do every kind of, you kind of get those lows throughout the year, right? Like, people come back from August and there's like a week low.
Right.
Beginning of January is a week low. Those are the times I take. This business is dynamic. You gotta change with it, right? So what I do is whenever we've got like a quiet week or something like that, I really focus on the next 6 months, the next year.
Right.
What do we got to do to stay competitive? What do we got to do to keep retaining business, keep earning business, and just there's always another high. Like, and you got to kind of push your levels a little bit. So I think my drive is, or to answer your question, I think that's what it is. It's consistently trying to change, adapt, and do better than before.
Right.
Always try to, whatever that is, and just work on your business, because sometimes you're just running the whole time. You're just sprinting, you're running, right? There's no time to breathe, and you're like, oh my God, like I'm drowning here. But you got to work on that business and behind the scenes so you can keep running, right? You got to keep pushing it. I don't want to get into your secret sauce, but for a lot of young realtors listen to this podcast, what are types of practices that you do, types of routines that you do, or different ways that build your business, maybe even the basics that you just never stop doing that create more success for you? You know what? There's a couple things I find to do, and right off the hop, I go to the office every day. I drop my kids off at school, and I am at the office every day, even if I got appointments or not. I'll go there, because if it's quiet, I start working on my next few months. I start working on the leads, and one thing I did from the start. And I remember one older realtor, he's kind of making fun of a guy who did this. He's like, I was sitting beside this young guy, and he was kind of like making lists of where his next business is going to come from. And I said that, and to my mind, I was like, that's a great idea. So I will sit there still to this day, and I'll write down any lead I've got. I won't cross them off until they've actually become a listing, until they become a client, until they sold. Like say I got a listing.
Right.
I got a list of listing potentials coming up. And I will go through that. Say I haven't heard from somebody for a month or so. I'll just follow up. Hey, Joe, it's been a while. Just seeing if you have anything
Just
else.
an email or a text?
Just an email or text, however they like to communicate, and just continually follow up, touch base, stay relevant, and stay with them.
Right.
Because they will move on if you're not consistently working with them.
Yeah.
Like if you're not touching base. And it's funny, like I was just doing this the other day. I've got, pages of listings, potential listings, check marks beside what's listed, cross off with a big check that's sold. If you didn't get the listing, I still do not cross them off. They are not crossed off until that house is sold.
Right.
Because I've had people come back later, right? It is not a done deal. So I do that. I also don't really visualize, but you also kind of visualize in the kind of the cheesy sense. It's also though, yeah, you got to look, where's my next business going to come from? And I did this right away when I was young. Any lead I got just from just a number at an open house or just a phone number, or somebody who touched base, asked something, I wrote them down. Joe Smith, April 23rd, whatever. Talked to them May 15th, sent them something in October, and I kept them in the back of my mind always, and I just kept creating these lists. Where's my next business going to come from? I'd create another list. Okay, I'm active in the soccer, right? Maybe somebody from my soccer team, or maybe somebody from here.
Right.
And just constantly visualizing, constantly working and picturing where it's going to come from, right? No matter what you like to do, stay true to who you are, but whatever you like to do, use that to your potential. Honestly, Ryan Serhant says it. All the time, follow up.
Right.
Follow up.
Right.
Do not disappear.
Yeah.
Funny story, actually, quick side note. I was just showing one of my listings today. I got to be there for the listing, and then the 8th buyer was there with the buyer's client, and I heard her whisper to her client. She's like, "Oh, I actually sold this to these sellers like 20 years ago. I guess I didn't follow up with them."
Oh.
It was funny. I laughed to myself, right? Because and then I texted my client. She's like, "Oh my God, that was our old realtor," but she didn't
Never followed up.
Never followed. Never just Christmas card, whatever it is. Just keep active, right?
Just keep, and they'll either use you again or they'll refer their friends to you.
Exactly.
Just be top of mind, right? Just be top of mind. Exactly. Oh, that's great. That's great advice. Let's see here. So where do we go from there? That's good stuff. And are you using new technologies in your business now that you didn't use 12 years ago, or are you finding that or is it sort of old school type of networking, or a combination of both?
No, not really technology. I like it. I'll bring it in for a little bit. I'll try to do new, just ways to keep things organized. But then I just find ways to talk to my assistant and things like that. But then I find it's just too much, right?
Right.
So I'm very visual. I write everything down in regards to like deals done, what's going on, categorizing leads.
Right.
So I write everything down. Like I have my calendar on my phone.
Yeah.
But that's the way I just keep up on it. It's kind of
just write it all down on paper.
Yeah, usually on paper, sticky notes. I got like 10 sticky notes from recycling a day, just to-dos once a week. Every week, July 16th, 2019. What's my to-do list, right? You write down the 20 things you got, and it's going to get added to every day, right?
Yeah,
You get an accepted offer, all right, you got your to-do emails, you got due diligence, you got to get stuff going.
Yeah.
That's just the way I am. And just stay organized. That's a big thing I find in this business.
Right.
Especially when market was crazy a couple of years ago, right? Like you couldn't
drop the ball
easily, right? Like and especially when you're treating your clients at a certain professional level, you didn't want to drop the ball, right? Like so keeping organized. Oh man, I forgot to check the covenants off the title, or I didn't look up that one thing on the PDS for them, like I told them I was going to. You didn't want to do that. That's a huge deal, right? So just staying organized, keeping your to-do lists constantly going.
So what you're saying is you write down how you're going to get your business. You're creating affirmations there, right? Yeah. You're doing law of attraction, creating affirmations, and then so that's like the woo-woo stuff.
Yeah.
Which it works.
Yeah.
It works very, very well. And then you're writing down those leads, and you're never ever giving up until they basically say they use somebody else.
Yeah.
Even then you're not giving up until you see that
No.
transaction, or they tell you to.
Yeah. And I won't reach out
No.
And big. I'll follow up if you didn't get it. Like, take everything as a learning lesson, right? Like if you didn't get a listing, no big deal, right? Just take it as a learning steps. I'll follow up and I'll be like, hey Joanne, good luck, all the best of luck, because they'll tell you. Can I ask, if you don't mind, like what should I do? What do you think that I should do better? Why didn't you hire me? Just
Right.
take it. And honestly, 90% of the people will respond. They will give you positive feedback or negative, whatever it is. Take it and use it. Don't take offense to it.
Exactly.
Right?
Don't let the ego
Don't let the ego
get out. Yeah, show up, right?
Well, especially with like our market's a lot smaller, right? You know, Victoria.
Right.
It's everybody knows everybody, right? So it's a very home based, like it's very family oriented for the most part. So everybody kind of knows. So you want to make sure you're on everybody's good books. Because say you do something wrong, it's going to get out there.
I'm going to tell everybody a secret out here. Victoria's not just that. Vancouver's like that.
Exactly.
Your communities are like that. It's like, looking from the outside in, you see big numbers.
Yeah.
They're all people.
Yeah.
They all have people. I mean, they have different types of problems sometimes, but at the end of the day, they just want to work with good people that can protect their best interests.
That's right.
That's it.
That's right.
And all that flashy stuff that you see on TV.
Oh,
it's not real.
Smoke and mirrors.
It's all
man.
smoke and mirrors. It's
yeah.
all smoke and mirrors. That's just for television.
Yeah.
Thinking that you're going to make millions of bucks when you start off into the business.
Yeah.
There's always that potential, but you don't do it unless you have the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$12 million listing sell on day one. That's not.
It doesn't happen often at all. Yeah.
That's not good.
You show me where that happens often.
Yeah. Right. And that's a big thing actually that you said though. It's be like, just be what makes you comfortable in this. Like, don't try to be something different. That's a big part of it because that's going to come through. Like, that's a big part of being a realtor.
You don't have to be a shark to swim with sharks.
No,
you don't. You just be yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
And people will respect you,
Yeah.
even the sharks. Yeah. As we close up here, so I ask every guest this question. The question is, what single piece of advice would you give your younger self on day one when starting your business in real estate?
I guess, it'd be...
Give us two.
Kind of goes with what you just said. So what we were just talking. So kind of A, have no fears, but B, be yourself. There's a realtor for everybody out there, right? There is. There's so many different personalities out there.
Right.
But what I mean though too is, like I was afraid, right? I was afraid to go in because I didn't want to be, but be true to who you are. And I found that's come up a lot in my business over the years. Because if you're not genuine, honestly, it comes up. And if you're going in there trying to be somebody else, somebody you think you have to be, you think these other producers are doing, it comes through. They're like, man, if this guy doesn't even know who he is, how's he going to handle us, right? Like, how do we even know that he's genuine to his job when he's performing for us, right? Like, stick to who you are. Sometimes you're going to be uncomfortable doing things that are uncomfortable. No problem. Like, it is what it is. But it comes through. It shines through to the end, right? And I've had a couple people I know, and they've said, like, I've had a couple frustrating weeks. And one, actually, a lady who was working with me, she goes, you know what, Eli? Stay true to who you are. That's all that matters, right? Because you just got all this external noise sometimes, and it just be who it is, right? If you're a door knocker, be a door knocker, right? Whatever's comfortable, whatever you like. If you're a cold caller, be a cold caller. Like, just whatever you do, it'll come through, and just stick with it.
The one thing with that though, if you can master that skill set, that mindset is fantastic. But don't let fear mask that comfort.
Exactly.
If fear and holding back for your true potential, it might feel comfortable, but it's not. And you will recognize that as well. That's just being unwillingness to move forward.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
Just be who you are. Don't worry about it. You don't have to be the realtor that's on TV. You don't have to be the realtor that Nick is. You don't have to be that realtor. Be yourself, right? Like, that's what people want. They want differences. They don't want everybody who's the same person.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I was joking with you. I was showing very expensive properties the other day dressed like this, right? And my clients don't care. They're like, I could be, not saying like I don't dress up super nice sometimes, but if it's hot out, I just straight up said, listen, it's middle of summer. I run hot. I'm going to be sitting with you for 3 hours.
You don't want me sweating.
No, right? And they're laughing. They're like, no, this is great. We love this, right? Like, it's still professional. You're dressed nice, but you're not wearing holes and things like that. But,
right.
So people appreciate that. They really see it, and I think that's a big part of this business is be wholesome, be confident, not cocky, and just be who you are. And really, and be a professional. You gotta be a professional.
Yeah. And there's one last thing before we finish this interview. I just want to mention a conversation we had before we started talking about growing our businesses, and when you reach like an elite level, 80 to 100 ends, like how do you grow your business without doing out with the double the output to make half the business more, right?
Yeah.
Kill yourself. And it is for the people who are building their business and are figuring out, do 80 to 100 ends a year. It's the average price per deal.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. So if you're averaging 900,000 and and now you're at 1.1, well, you've increased your income by 20% with the same amount of energy and time.
Exactly.
And that's the key to growing your business at those levels.
And
or else you're going to kill yourself trying to do 120 deals.
Oh, exactly. It's too much. Like that was unsustainable. Those few years where you're doing over 100 deals, and it was literally, especially if life, because work life is huge.
Right.
You gotta stick with your work-life balance to a degree as well. But when you're young and you're working, you gotta do it. But that is a big, big key to it. It's just you can't go at that level all the time. But as a starting agent, the young realtors here, like I know some other agents, stick to, if you like luxury, stick to luxury.
Yeah.
When you're starting off, that's not the norm, right?
No.
Like do everything and become like a master, not a master at all, but educate yourself in all realms of the market, because you never know where you're going to end up.
No.
You don't know. Constantly be a student of the business, because don't ever think that you're above the business. Constantly learn. I've got a quick story. I've told my real estate agents, and I think this is a huge story, and young agents got to know this.
Perfect.
I had good clients, met them. They wanted to see one of my listings. Didn't like it, but I just stayed in touch with them. They finally called me, said, "Hey, we're thinking of selling our place." Sold their place for them, which was great. But I don't know, 6 months later, they said, "Hey, Eli, they texted me. My dad, their house was at the time was worth like $900,000.
Right.
My dad, he comes out here to visit. He usually stays downtown, but they don't let him smoke in the hotel. Right. So he just wants to buy a small mobile home because he can do what he wants." It's like, all right, guys know where that. I was like, I've never sold one before, but sure, whatever, right? So I remember even going there, and we walked in. Their dad wasn't even here, but I walked in with my clients. I was like, well, I don't know, here it is, kind of thing, right?
Look left, look right.
Right, and then we're done. It was small. It was super, it's like $50,000 or something ridiculously small, right? Did the deal for them just because it's for them, right? It's all about those relationships. You got to work those relationships, because you never know where they're going to go. So what happened? A year later, I get a call from her. No, not even a year later, maybe a year later. She said, "Hey, they're giving my dad problems. They want to change the thing. He's sick of it. He wants to look at this property." I had no clue, where his financial budget went. $5 million property.
No kidding.
It went from a $50,000 property, obviously, when you go upwards to the biggest deal at the time.
Right.
Biggest deal, right? It was crazy.
Right.
But it was, if I would have passed that buyer on and been like, I don't do that. I'm too good for that. My ego's too big for that. They might have called Joanne Smith, who helped them buy the trailer, and be like, "Hey, Joanne," because that was the last person they dealt with. "My dad wants to buy this property. Can you help me?" And then boom. And now since then, my clients have bought like 2 or 3 other properties with me. We've got they're amazing clients. And that, I think, is huge. Don't ever think you're too...
No.
Don't let your ego get in the way. Obviously, as you grow, your business grows, you start going towards, and you just, your market, your clientele changes, right?
Right.
It is, you don't do it on purpose. It just happens. But don't, when you're young, I know you want to do this or do that, but do work at everything, right? Become as smart as you can, because people look at you as a professional. They're going to ask you, right? Your opinion. What is this worth? What should I do? Be that answer for them. So
your level of service is who you are and what your brand is and the value you bring to the world.
100%.
And it doesn't change from the $50,000 mobile park purchaser to the $5 million purchaser. Yeah. And you never know, because that could be the same person.
Exactly. That's exactly.
You never know.
Yeah, I think that's sort of great for young people to learn, right?
Perfect.
You just never know.
Eli, thank you so much for being on the show. So where can people find you on social media and online?
Instagram, we're mostly on that. Insta is Mavrikos Collective. So my last name, Mavrikos Collective.
Yeah.
That's our brand that we do. And then Facebook, I think our business page is Eli Mavrikos Collective or whatever. But usually it's Instagram, and then my website is just mavrikoscollective.com.
Okay, I'll have all those links in the bio of this episode. And Eli, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
and I look forward to just going to Victoria and hanging out and
have a pint.
Have a pint for sure.
Done.
Take care, everybody. Thanks for listening once again.